of alcohols and phenols so that at least you can study those topics and during the summer classes. So what I want to do is like I'll explain it now. You can write it down the notes later. Just pay attention so that you can understand it. I'll upload the notes today itself so that you can copy it down also. I guess if I'm not mistaken, we were in oxidation reaction, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And the important chart or the route, what you have to write, that you can write it down now also. That we already discussed last class. Primary alcohol oxidizes to give aldehyde, and aldehyde oxidizes to give carboxylic acid. This is an important route. What you have to use, that you have to what you can say, based on what is the requirement. Say example, you have to prepare an aldehyde from primary alcohol, then you have to use a very mild oxidizing agent like PCC, that is pyridinium chlorochromate, because they are mild enough that they can just convert an alcohol to aldehyde. But if you use strong oxidizing agent, KMnO4 or potassium dichromate, K2Cr2O7. This also please make a note. Rest of the notes you can make later. So these are the examples of the strong oxidizing agent, and PCC is one example where you can convert an alcohol to aldehyde. Aldehydes won't be further oxidized. But the problem with the strong oxidizing agent is that if you start from a primary alcohol, you will directly get a carboxylic acid because aldehydes formed immediately will be oxidized to carboxylic acid. So this is what the problem of using strong acid. That means strong oxidizing agent, that you will get a carboxylic acid as a product. But if you want to prepare an aldehyde from a primary alcohol, then you have to use a particular or mild oxidizing agents like PCC. So this was our discussion that we had last class. Any doubt in this one oxidation part? Okay. So we have few more points to discuss in oxidation. That is, so we discussed about a primary alcohol. Then what about secondary alcohol? Secondary alcohol will be converted to a ketone after oxidation, and this ketone cannot be further oxidized. That means whether you use a strong oxidizing agent or any other oxidizing agent, you can have only one oxidation in this route, secondary alcohols to ketone. Even if you add more strong oxidizing agent to the ketone, ketone won't undergo further oxidation. So it's just only an oxidation of a secondary alcohol to ketone. You can use any of the oxidizing agent. And here one of them suggested by for this particular reaction is chromic anhydride. That is CrO3. CrO3. So oxidation of primary alcohol to aldehyde, aldehyde to carboxylic acid. So if you use a strong oxidizing agent, you will get a carboxylic acid from primary alcohol. Or if you use a mild oxidizing agent, you will get an aldehyde from primary alcohol. So that means basically we use PCC for that particular reaction. For secondary alcohol, you can oxidize a secondary alcohol and what you get is a ketone. Then what about tertiary alcohol? What do you think tertiary alcohol will do? Tertiary alcohol does not undergo any type of oxidation. Whatever the oxidizing agent you use, it will not undergo any oxidation reaction. So whether you use KMnO4 or potassium dichromate, any strong oxidizing agent, you cannot oxidize a tertiary alcohol. Instead, if you use a strong conditions and elevated temperature, Instead of oxidation, the carbon-carbon bonds will break down and you will get a mixture of carboxylic acid containing less number of carbon atoms. So that is the oxidation part. So primary alcohol will undergo oxidation. You can get aldehydes or carboxylic acid based on what type of oxidizing agents you're using. For secondary alcohol, you will get ketone at all the cases. And for tertiary alcohol, no oxidation at all. But if you force the tertiary alcohol to undergo a reaction by adding strong oxidizing agents and using elevated temperature, instead of oxidation, carbon-carbon bonds will be broken down and you will get carboxylic acid containing less number of carbon atom. So this is the overall part of oxidation reaction of alcohol. So all the three alcohol, primary, secondary and tertiary, have got some reactions under oxidation, but primary and secondary directly undergoing an oxidation, but tertiary no oxidation directly, but instead with the strong oxidizing agent and elevated temperature, carbon-carbon bonds breaks and get a carboxylic acid. Am I clear?
Ma'am, can you show the oxidation of primary alcohol again, please?
Primary alcohol to aldehyde, aldehyde to carboxylic acid, and based on what kind of oxidizing agent you're using, you may get aldehyde or carboxylic acid. So a strong oxidizing agent will get carboxylic acid, and a PCC, pyridinium chlorochromate, you will get an aldehyde. I'll share the notes. You can write it down and add more points during the summer holidays. So can I change now? Okay. One of the similar reaction like oxidation is reactions with copper. So oxidation and the reaction with copper is almost similar thing you will get. But here, instead of an oxidation, what happens is like a dehydrogenation. What do you mean by dehydrogenation? What is dehydrogenation?
Removal of a hydrogen molecule.
Removal of hydrogen. But we know we have also got a definition for oxidation as either adding oxygen or removal of hydrogen, right? So that means here technically you can compare it with oxidation reaction. Similar products you are getting here, but it's actually a reaction with metal and we use the word dehydrogenation. That means the products you are supposed to get during the oxidation reaction or reaction with copper is similar because even though it's an oxidation, it is referred to as removal of hydrogen, and same thing is happening here, dehydrogenation. You're removing an hydrogen. So let's see at copper with primary alcohol, CH2O, this is primary alcohol. Primary alcohol is giving you aldehyde because copper cannot be a strong oxidizing agent. So you are getting only aldehyde. Aldehydes cannot be oxidized to carboxylic acid. So it's just only one step oxidation, that is dehydrogenation. And secondary alcohol is giving you a ketone. And tertiary alcohol, no oxidation, but instead it is a dehydrogenation, removal of water happens and what you get is an alkene. This is also a very important reaction similar to oxidation. So for these two, basically it's the same. Oxidation and reaction with copper gives the same product. Primary alcohol to aldehyde, secondary alcohol to ketone. The products are same. Only for tertiary, as they don't undergo oxidation. In previous case also it was not undergoing oxidation. Here also the product is different, and here you are getting an alkene as a product. This was one of an important question they ask for tertiary. Many a time that question was repeated because we used to think that okay, tertiary alcohols may form a aldehyde or ketone kind of compound, but it's a different type of reaction only. Here you are getting a dehydration reaction. So here it is dehydrogenation, removing hydrogen, and here it is dehydration, removing water. So that's what the reactions with copper. Any doubt?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Now comes the reactions with phenol. I'm sorry for the background noise. It's heavy rain here. That's what. Um, yeah. For reactions of phenol, these reactions are all of similar pattern because OH group is a ortho-para directing group. So like in the case of chloroalkyl arenes, what we discussed previous chapter, here also whatever you do, nitration, sulfonation, halogenation, Friedel-Crafts alkylation, Friedel-Crafts acylation, all the reaction even alcohol phenol can undergo, and you will get ortho and para products. So that's what we're going to discuss. First is electrophilic aromatic substitution. And as expected, OH is ortho para directing group. So after nitration, you can see NO2 group at ortho position and para position. So when you use a dilute nitric acid, you are getting a mix of ortho and para product. As you know that ortho and para product can be separated by steam distillation because their boiling point is different. This was one of an important question again related to this physical properties of alcohol, because here one is ortho and other one is a para product, and you can see that intermolecular hydrogen bonding is possible in the case of orthonitrophenol, and that is the reason why their boiling point is different. So if the boiling point is different, any molecule can be separated using the method of steam distillation. So please mark this as important. You have to just read, and it's like mostly they ask a question related to it. How can you separate the two products formed after the nitration of phenol, ortho and para product? They got difference in their boiling point because of their ability making intermolecular hydrogen bonding. What do you mean by intramolecular hydrogen bonding? Let me ask that question. What is intramolecular hydrogen bonding? Why it is not happening for para? How it is related to boiling point? What is intra and intermolecular hydrogen bonding? Anybody know?
Ma'am, intra means it's between O and H of the same molecule.
Yeah, so here it's actually intra. Intramolecular mean within the same molecule, this hydrogen making bonds with oxygen of NO2. So what happens is like a molecule is sufficiently stable within its what you can say within the whatever is available with it, right? That means there is no connections between the molecule. One molecule, another molecule, there is no connection because the intramolecular hydrogen bonding is happening between the groups present in the same compound. So orthonitrophenol being these two groups close to each other, ortho position, they have a possibility of making bonding. That means the between the two orthonitrophenol, there won't be any interaction. So if there is no interaction between the molecule, their boiling point will be very less, right? So orthonitrophenol will have less boiling point because they are making intramolecular hydrogen bonding. They make bond hydrogen bond within themselves. So there is no connection or interaction between the molecules. But when you take paranitrophenol, one molecule of paranitrophenol, there is no intramolecular hydrogen bonding, but instead it can have a intermolecular OH of this making bonds with oxygen of the next molecule. So that means between the molecule there is some interaction, right? So that what happens when there is interconnections between the molecule, boiling point will be increasing. So that is why they say that orthonitrophenol is steam volatile. That means it can be easily vaporizable and collected separately because it has got intramolecular. They make hydrogen bonding within the substituents of that same compound. So connection between the molecule is very weak, so that they got a very less boiling point. If the boiling point is very less or comparatively less, it will be vaporizable or it is easily volatilized on steam distillation. So it can be separately collected, and para-nitrophenol will have comparatively greater boiling point because it is making intermolecular hydrogen bonding. Am I clear now?
So O-nitrophenol cannot have any intermolecular hydrogen bonding?
It cannot have because the whatever is available, it is used for making intra connection, intramolecular hydrogen. So how it will make intermolecular? Even if it is there, very less in number. That is why they got less boiling point compared to paranitol.
Okay, ma'am.
So that's what the first point, nitration. Dilute nitric acid will give you ortho and para mixed product. But instead, if you use a concentrated nitric acid, that means a strong reagent, then you can see all the ortho and para positions are completely occupied with the NO2 group. Instead of getting a mix of product, all the molecule, all the positions and ortho and para positions are substituted with Na2 group. That means it is 2,4,6 trinitrophenol, which is known as picric acid. So this is the pattern of reaction in electrophilic aromatic substitution for phenol. Phenol being OH group, it is ortho para directing. You won't get a meta product here. So if you use a mild condition like dilute HNO3 for nitration, you will get mix of ortho and para product. But instead, if you use a concentrated nitric acid, all the ortho and para products will be substituted. So that is 2,4,6 trinitrophenol, which is picric acid. The same pattern of reaction you will see in halogenation and all the other electrophilic aromatic substitution. So if you quickly go through it, the same thing you can see over here. In the case of halogenation, if you take bromination as example, you can see bromine in carbon disulfide. So we use carbon disulfide because to control the amount of bromine, that means concentration of the bromine will be less if you dissolve bromine in a solvent. It's not like directly adding bromine. So bromine in CS2 meaning the amount of bromine available to react is very less in number rather than directly adding bromine in the second case. So bromine in CS2 mean less concentration of bromine. So if the concentration of bromine is less, like in the previous case, you will get ortho and para product. But if you use strong bromine condition, that is directly adding bromine, all the ortho and para positions will be substituted with the bromine atom. So that's what I said, electrophilic substitution, the pattern is same because OH is ortho para directive, whether it's a nitration, halogenation or any other electrophilic substitution, the pattern is same. With a milder condition, you will get mix of product. And if you use a stronger condition, all the ortho and para products are substituted and you will get a 2,4,6 tri-substituted product. And this is also one of an important reaction. Many a time they ask like bromine CS2 on the arrow. So you may have to click confused whether to write this product or this. That is why please focus on the condition. Here it is bromine in CS2. That is under dissolved in a solvent. But here it is directly adding bromine mean more concentration of bromine. So you will get 2,4,6 tribromophenol. So we have just taken two example, nitration and halogenation. You can have any other electrophilic substitution of similar pattern. Other than the electrophilic substitution, the important reaction of phenol, one of the important reaction of phenol is Cobb's reaction. This is again a named reaction, one of an important named reaction, Cobb's reaction. This is when phenol is treated with sodium hydroxide, you will get sodium phenoxide. That is the expected one. The first step is clear that we have seen before also. But when it is treated with carbon dioxide in presence of some acid, you can see you get a salicylic acid. Where we have seen the salicylic acid before?
And for making
Yes.
aspirin.
Yeah, to prepare during the preparation of aspirin, we were taking salicylic acid and then we were doing esterification, that is acetylation. Acetylization. That is why this reaction is important. Here, what is the reaction is because you are introducing a carboxylic group. Here it was a phenol only, and the final product you are introducing a carboxylic group. So you can do a carboxylic group attached to a phenol if you do this reaction, that is treating with sodium hydroxide, carbon dioxide and acidic condition. That is what you prepare a salicylic. So this particular reaction is known as Cobb's reaction. Any doubt in this one?
Ma'am, both these reactions are Coles reactions, the whole step of 2 steps.
Actually, you can directly add this to get this one, right? So we are first converting phenol to a sodium phenoxide to just to increase the reactivity. That's it. So generally, if you want to do this reaction, this is how you will eat. Even if you don't do this step, you directly add carbon dioxide in presence of an acid, you will get salicylic acid. But that reaction will be slow. Just to increase the rate of reaction or to increase the reactivity, we convert a phenol to sodium phenoxide first, then you treat it with carbon dioxide. So this particular reaction, as I said before also, you can write it in this way, a phenol, and on the arrows you write sodium hydroxide, carbon dioxide and H plus, and what you get is OH and COH group. So COOH group is introduced at the ortho position because phenol is ortho para directing. You can't expect an incoming group to go to the meta position. So that is what a Cobb's reaction. Next one is Reimer-Tayman reaction. All these reactions you can connect and study because in Cobb's reaction, what we introduced was a COOH group. And in Reimer-Tayman reaction, what you introduce is an CHO group, aldehyde group on phenol. So here also, as you can see, we use a mix of reagents, chloroform in aqueous sodium hydroxide. This is the reagent. CHCl3, chloroform in aqueous NaOH. In the actual exam, if they ask about Reimer-Tayman, you don't have to show all the intermediate. This is not required. You can just show the final step, final product, but make sure that you write all the reagents on the arrows. Even if you don't want to write the intermediate step, that's okay. But try to show all the reagents on the arrow. So it is like converting a phenol to salicyl aldehyde. A CHO group is introduced at the ortho position of the OH group. And the reagent used is chloroform, aqueous sodium hydroxide and acidic condition. Very, very important name reaction, Reimer-Tayman reaction. And the last reaction for phenol, reaction of phenol with zinc dust. And this reaction is very important because you can remove an OH group from phenol on treating with zinc so that you are getting a benzene. So reaction with zinc dust, removal of OH group from phenol, and what you get is a benzene. And if you do oxidation reaction for phenol using a sodium chromate or potassium dichromate, whatever, in presence of sulfuric acid, it's like a very strong condition. The phenol is oxidizes to form benzoquinone. And these are the important reactions of phenol.
Ma'am?
Yeah.
Ma'am, can you show the previous slide?
Reimer-Tayman reaction, you are introducing a CHO group to the phenol, that you are getting a salicyl aldehyde. and the reagent used is chloroform, aqueous, and NaOH. These are the important reagent for this Riemann-Tiemann reaction. This is actually named after the scientists who were working behind this reaction. So like that only, rather than learning it in the words, try to write the equation and learn like that what is happening. So Cobb's reaction, Riemann-Tiemann is related. In Cobb's reaction, you are introducing a COOH group at ortho position, and here you are introducing a CHO group at the ortho position. So that's what the reactions of phenol. All the reaction you can easily learn. There is nothing confusing or something, but you have to learn one by one, understanding what is the reagent and what is happening. You have to connect and learn in all of them.
Ma'am, can you show the next page?
Yeah.
Yes, ma'am.
So this is the last reactions of phenol. Reaction with zinc dust. It's just like removing OH group. This is also important. And oxidation mean you are oxidizing in presence of strong oxidizing agents, and what you get is benzoquinone. So that's it from my side. Thank you all. I'll try to upload the notes today itself, or maybe by tomorrow, and you can complete the notes. Please go through it, study and all. Either we'll do it once you resume back after the summer holidays. So utilize your holidays to relax, but at the same time to study. Continue the pattern of study. Like in the morning, you spend some time in like for studies only. Like then you take rest or do whatever you like to do.